So, I'm about to take my seizure medication, and I better take it, because today's gonna be a dangerous day. I'm getting ready for work as we speak. I'm still in my bed doing my stretches so I can walk and start getting ready. I don't have to leave till 10:45. I'm not getting back home till 10 tonight. So it's a short day for me at least. I won't be at work till 11 and I won't be leaving until 9:30. So that's a pretty short day for me. That's not too bad. Um, and I'm bringing a small heater with me to work like I always do just in case. But I'll have to wait at the bus stop, and it was pretty cold last night. I shivered and shook. My seizure activity was bad, and it's raining and it's cold outside, so it's a high danger day. It's a high risk day for seizure activity. So I'm gonna have to bundle up, maybe even use my heated vest. And this is August. Keep in mind we're in August. So I'm using all my heated and winter jackets in August to make sure I don't have a seizure. But with it being a little chilly, below 50 outside, with it raining, with me having to wait at the bus stop to take the bus to go in, it's a high risk. Luckily, I take the taxi home and pay a fortune to do it. I'm also going to have to borrow money off the safe. I had called my boss and I'm going to borrow money off the safe and put it back when I end up getting paid so I can take the taxi home, but there is no buses at 9:30. So I have to pay for the taxi. I'm working in I'm working in Rochester today, so it won't be a big deal. It's only 13 each way when you do that. But when I work in Somersworth, it's 30 each way. So today the total cost will be 14.50 to get to work. And I'm working from 11 to 9:30 and I'll be home by 10. And then I gotta do the same thing tomorrow. And this is a short day for me, what's good. Only thing that scares me is the bus stop. I might not make it to work if I'm not careful. I might just make it to the emergency room if I'm not careful. And I'm so sick of that because the hospital that they keep bringing to me, they don't want to follow doctor's orders. If they just brought me in the opposite direction, it's just as close. If they brought me to Wentworth Douglas Hospital, they know how to do everything. My doctor is a partner of that hospital. But when I go to the other hospital and they say because of where I live, I can only take an ambulance to the hospital that malpractices me and doesn't know what to do. They just don't know. They don't have the proper care there. So unless I get somebody with a car that actually gives a shit about my health, then that's not really going to help me any. I'm just going to end up having a seizure. They'll call an ambulance, or maybe they won't. I actually got my new bracelet in here. I'll show you what the ambulance bracelet looks like. This is the ambulance bracelet. You strap it to your leg or arm, and it has a neck thing. It's a life alert. It has a clip to hang around your neck, but they give you this strap in case you want to wear it like a wristband or a watch. I prefer putting it on my ankle so people don't quite see it or ask me. Kinda looks like one of those jail bracelets though. People assume that it's like a jail tracker or something. But no, it's what they call Life Banquet. It's the same thing as Life Alert. If I have a seizure, it's supposed to go off, but it doesn't. But when I wake up from the seizure, I can hit that red button and it's supposed to get me an ambulance. I'm not sure how well it works. Um, it doesn't seem to really work that well. I've tried it before, and I still had to have somebody else call me an ambulance. But I try it anyways. Maybe there's a reason for it, or maybe it just wasn't working that day. So I'll have it on today, and it's been activated. I get it through my insurance company and my doctors. This is the replacement, or the one to replace the one that got lost, because sometimes the bands come off, they break off, and then they fall off. So that's not great. There's even a serial number and information on the bottom. Looks like from wearing this so often, The serial number has worn off a little bit. It doesn't take long. It only takes a couple days in the rain and boom. But yeah, so I'll put that on my ankle. I'll go down to the bus stop. I'll pray for strength and pray for luck and get to work. And several times this has gone wrong, and every single time I have a seizure and put myself in this situation, and I do have a seizure, I don't wake up the same. I lose a piece of myself that I never get back. And this was done to me by my mother. My adopted mother did this to me. It's been happening for 25 years, and at any time, they could have got me help with this. At any time, my father could have tried to stop my mother from doing more damage. At any time, they could have listened to me or tried to handle this issue. But instead, my mother knew what she did. She knew that I was speaking up about it. She knew what I was talking about with that night. So she knew she didn't want anybody to know. And that's why today, at 31, I have to spend all my money, all my time at hospitals and at work, and with all this medical equipment, trying to help myself. But this should have been handled a long time ago. I wouldn't be suffering as greatly, that's for sure. But somebody didn't want to take responsibility for their actions. They wanted Social Security. They wanted their retirement. They wanted their money. They wanted to protect their money. So they just said, let Zach suffer. That was my mother's idea. And my father saw crazy things happening with her, and then crazy things happening with me, and chose to allow it to continue. Nobody ever stopped my mother. Nobody ever, pulled her aside and told her what she was doing was wrong. And somebody should have a long time ago. I wouldn't be going through this today. But I have to. I have to move forward. I'm going to work from 11 to 9:30. I'll be leaving the house at 10:30. And I'll be wearing a bunch of seizure stuff for it. And at least I have 25 years of information to give to the doctor. At least I was paying attention. At least I was trying to figure it out. At least I was asking questions. At least I was talking to her. At least I was trying to get information out of her. At least I was getting her to tell the truth. At least I was making mental notes of what was going on. So now I have good information to give to the doctors, and we're finally going in a direction. But it's going to be years and years and years and years of hard work, and I might not make it through this. That is a possibility, but at least I know my soul is for eternity, and my soul is good. If people want to make up stories about you or lie about you, that doesn't mean your soul is going to get affected. No, because God knows you. I know me, God knows me, and the people who really get to know me know what I'm like. Meanwhile, the people who believe their own stories, or they want to believe in their own lies, that doesn't matter to God. Just because you don't want to believe the truth that I tell you. Like, I'll give you an example. I took a sip of 2 beers and I dumped them down a drain. I was like 25. And I have no problem talking about my drinking. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, my father and my aunt are alcoholics, so I have no problem talking about my drinking with them. But I had some orange peel drink. It was Shock Top or something, and it was made out of orange peels, and then there was a lemon peel one, and then I had a regular beer. And I was trying to figure out which one I would like. I tried the Shock Top orange. Oh my god, way too bitter. Put it back down, full can, disgusting. Tried the lemon. Oh, still bitter, disgusting. So then I went to the next one, and I had 2 good ones. These were, I forget what the brand, maybe they were Michelob, and those ones weren't too bad. And then I tried to fall asleep with a lot of difficulty. But before I fell asleep, I said, oh, that's going to attract bugs, it's going to smell, I already see bugs coming in the window. I better get rid of that beer before it does that. So I went in the bathroom, started pouring out the beer, and halfway through pouring it out, I said, oh no. I said this in my head. I said, oh, this is going to be one of those twisted stories that my father and mother used to make up, isn't it? I better stop pouring these out, because I can tell them the truth. But they'll make up their own story again, and they'll make up lies about me again. So I better stop. So I stopped. I left whatever was left under this bureau, and I went on with my day. Went on with the morning, went on with whatever. At this point, of course, they did exactly what I was afraid of, exactly what I have anxiety of. They started making up stories about me. I told them, no, I drank the Michelob. Those two, I didn't like the taste. I poured it down the drain. Yeah, they're disgusting. I didn't want bugs coming in. I'm trying to explain myself to them. I'm being honest and truthful. And they just go, no, 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 no. You must have done this, and you must have done this, and I assume this, and I assume that. And they're getting all aggressive and angry, making up their own narrative. And I'm like, what the hell? It's just alcohol. If I drank them, I would have just said, yeah, I couldn't sleep. I drank them all. And I'm telling you, I did try to drink them. It's not like I'm lying to you. But no, they make up their own stories again. And you got to keep in this mind. I went through my whole life like this. I tell them the truth, and then they just twist it into something else that they made up in their head. I mean, goddamn, they do it all the time. I live my whole life like that. That's why I can never live with them. That's why if I'm dying in the woods, I can't call and try to live with them. Because even if they would allow it, I can't allow myself to live with them. Their behaviors are they are going to get me killed. The way my family acts is going to get me killed. My mother, my father, and now my father's third wife. All of them, their behaviors are insane. When I'm being helpful, they turn it into some weird sex thing. When I'm just trying to go to sleep and work, they turn that into some big problem with alcohol, and then they make their own lies and narratives. When I'm eating whipped cream, they say I'm inhaling it. I mean, there's all this crazy stuff going on with them. And I have no problem admitting to my addiction. Like, yeah, I did have whipped cream. I have. Not in that house. I did it behind a bush in Haverhill. It was even worse because I had multiple cans. That's even worse. I couldn't quite figure out how to do it, though. I still, to this day, don't understand quite how people do that one. Um, I still can't figure it out. I don't want to. If I wanted nitrous, I'll just buy nitrous. That's too expensive. I've also done nitrous oxide through the nitrous tanks. I got balloons and I've tried it. I have no problem speaking up about it. I have tried nitrous. I have. I even tried nitrous after I left the house. When I was back in Lowell, I did a balloon. I absolutely tried nitrous before, but not out of a whipped cream can. And see, I tell them this. I even give them, yeah, I've tried it before. I even give them more ammo to use against me. I give them the truth about things they don't know. Oh, you know, I've done this before, and I've done this before, that you didn't know about that, but I'm not doing this. And they still go with their own made-up stories, and I get hurt from it. They try to get me on all these drugs, and it messes with my head, and then they get drunk, and they have these hissy fits, and they get angry. They call the police on themselves, basically. They're acting psychotic, then they call the police on themselves. There's other people, too, that see some of this and go, oh, wow. And then they try to blame it on the fact that I ate bad meat. Like, I left work, right? I had to leave work because I was pooping myself at work and I didn't have a car to keep pants in. Normally I would just keep, like, extra pants maybe in my car or locker, but there was no locker and I didn't have a car. So I had to come home, change my pants, and by the time I got back, my shift would have been over. And then they turn that and they just embarrass me. They scream at me for being sick off a jerky I made. I tried to make jerky through a recipe online where you put jerky in between these they're air filters, I guess, and you run a fan below it. You marinate the raw meat and then you put it in the fan and then you let it sit there for 18 hours, and then I bagged it up and I left it in a drawer, and then I ate some before, like the day before I went to work, or maybe it was 2 days before. And then, of course, that raw meat that I cooked wrong got me very sick, where I was pooping a lot, and I couldn't control it. And I told them all this, and it's embarrassing. I don't want to be talking to them about this. And they would just totally turn that into something else. They totally turned it into something totally psychotic. And this is why I have a problem. Is because every time I'm honest, truthful about what's going on with me, it gets twisted and turned into some story by them. And then when I finally tell them 100 times over, oh my God, what's the wrong with you? It was rotten meat. I had no pants in a car or anything. What do you want me to do? Shit 9 times and bend over until it's leaking down my leg in front of my boss? Is that what you would do? Would you continue shitting yourself for 2 hours until it's running down your leg and your manager goes, what the hell is wrong with you? No, you wouldn't. And they just continue to try to twist and make things that aren't true, and make big deals out of things that aren't. And they don't even want to handle their own drinking. They don't even want to handle their own mixing alcohol with pills. They don't even want to handle their own behaviors. They don't want to handle their own daughter. They don't want to help their own granddaughter. All this crazy behaviors when I'm trying to help, when I come down the stairs and tell her, your granddaughter's crying upstairs. She really needs you to go up there and comfort her. Instead, that gets turned into some weird thing in her head. And this is the problem. They make up a narrative in their head. They convince themselves that it's true. And then they hurt other people in the process. And that's messed up. Like when I came back from work, right, I had an extra dollar. So I wrapped the dollar around the coin just to have something to do. I like puzzles, and I was trying to see if I could fold the dollar over a coin. And I did. I folded the dollar over the coin perfectly. I made a $1.25 coin. But then if I take it apart, it doesn't look all pretty. What do I do with this? So I had a great idea. This granddaughter has a piggy bank, and she's trying to save money to get something. Well, why don't I be nice and give her this really cool quarter dollar, and then it'll be a surprise like a month later, or whenever she checks it, she'll see this coin and go, wow, what is this? Never seen a coin like this. And then I'll go, that's a dollar coin, I made it. Yeah, you're welcome. That's a good deed you're doing for somebody else. So I did it, and I dropped a dollar wrapped around a quarter into her piggy bank, and I went to work, did my own thing. I came home and I got yelled at for it. I'm not even kidding. They turned it into some bad thing I did. Giving a person a dollar in their piggy bank was some awful deed I must have committed. And they totally belittled me and horrifically, just mentally, was scarring me again, even though I'm an adult so I can handle it and it's not causing any real mental scars. But it's bringing back the flashbacks of my mother and father creating these stories and pushing them. And I'm like, really? So now I've eaten whipped cream and I must be huffing it. I shit my pants and you make that into something totally crazy. I go out with my brother and do absolutely nothing wrong. I come back and I'm being truthful, honest, and trying to have honesty for my brother, you guys, everybody, and you totally go nuts. You completely go off the rails because you're drunk on alcohol. You can see all the alcohol. I know alcohol when I see it in somebody's system. I basically have a degree in addiction. I can point somebody out who's had 2 drinks from across the room. I'm not even kidding. Your eyes get glazed, your behavior, your voice, your aggressive behavior. I can point somebody out without even having to see the alcohol, without having to see it on hand. And they both had alcohol in their system beyond the point of 1 drink. And that affected their behavior. And when the police arrived, they really said they didn't know what the hell was going on, and it seems like they have a problem downstairs. They even, they were refusing a breathalyzer. They couldn't even get off the couch. They didn't even want to get off the couch because they didn't want the officers seeing them all messed up. So this is a big problem. I can never, ever move in there, even if they want me to, because it will affect me. Their behavior will affect me no matter if I'm sober or not. By the way, I tried this many times with them. I would get completely sober for a year. I'd be completely not a drop of alcohol for 1 year. I would even test myself out by going to like a party where there's alcohol and make sure I don't drink. And I would complete that test perfectly. And then I go through this madness with them. And they want me to drink. They say, you could drink, you could drink. They keep alcohol in front of me. And I last a while. But eventually I drink a beer. It wasn't about getting drunk. It was about helping the nervous system and dealing with the anxiety from their crazy behaviors. And they don't understand that either. They don't understand their behaviors are crazy. They don't understand that the things that were done to me as a child, all the way up to the time I was in my 20s in Maine, those behaviors affect me. And they affect your family, not just me. They affect your grandkid. They affect your daughter. They affect me. They affect your sons. That's why people didn't show up to the funeral. That's why people didn't want to show up to the funeral. That's why my nephew talked shit during the funeral. That's why I was mourning my own health at that funeral. Because these behaviors affect the people around you. And now I have a lifelong disability. I have PTSD from it. I have anxiety from it. And from what my mother did to me, I have a neurological disorder and permanent damage to my nervous system. My brain and nervous system will never be the same thanks to what happened to me in Westford. And they don't want to take any responsibility for their actions. They just want to make up new stories, new lies, new things to point the finger at me. It's easier to blame your son than take responsibility for your actions. It's like blaming the dog. Just blame the dog. Just blame the dog. Just blame the dog. Except for they were able to take an orphan and blame an orphan for their mistakes. And this is the problem. They don't want to look at themselves. They don't want to admit that they could ever make a mistake. And that's why they really shouldn't have anybody at their house. They shouldn't have anybody living with them, and they definitely shouldn't be in charge of any children. And by me coming out with this, maybe it helps some other people out there who are struggling in the same way. Because I do a lot of these groups with addiction people, and I give them really good advice. I've even been told maybe I should become a group leader or try to get a job in one of these industries. I even had a degree from a year classes of sobriety where they gave me this weird degree that I can get a job with. Don't actually have the physical degree anymore, but all you have to do is you have to do a whole year of these classes, and you have to live there in hospitals and all that. And then you end up having to be a year sober, and you can use that degree. I've gone to so many of these places that I can really help addicts. I can really help the mentally ill. I can really help the disabled, and I can really help the elderly. Because I've spent years learning these traits. I even spent 4 years being a teacher's aide for special needs children from the age of like 15 to 18 or 19, something like that. Yeah, it was a good job. The only problem with that job is I would be knocked out, lethargic, and those night meds would fuck me up. I would go into work in the morning, and I would be so drowsy that when I was trying to work with the kids, I would sometimes like halfway fall asleep and have to shake my head back to wake. And this would happen for an hour or two. I would be hungover too every morning for about, I don't know, 8 years, maybe longer. I was hungover every morning from these medications. And I don't think I wasn't reporting these side effects. I was reporting all the side effects from these medications. But see, my mother wanted to turn side effects into permanent problems with me. She didn't want to report side effects with the medications. No, she wanted to report side effects with the medications as me. That has nothing to do with the medication. This must have been Zach the whole time. That's a big problem. And that one way I was able to really figure out what was going on is that when I stopped the medication, all the side effects stopped. Wouldn't you know it? When I stopped the medication, I stopped going down. I stopped getting drowsy and then going up and then going down and going up. Now I'm just up. I'm permanently up. No more downs. Well, that's great. My headaches and hangovers in the morning